Ed100.org makes it possible for anyone to learn what they need to know about California's education system. This video is a brief overview of Chapter 3, which focuses on teachers. Lesson 3.1 examines who becomes a teacher. In the 1960s, women in America had limited career opportunities. At that time, more than half of women with college degrees were teachers. In the 1970s and 80s, that changed. College-educated women had other good choices, and top graduates were no longer as likely to choose teaching. Men have not joined the teaching profession in large numbers. Nearly 90% of California teachers in elementary grades are women, and 8 out of 10 teachers are white. Students benefit from having teachers from a variety of backgrounds, so the lack of diversity in the teaching profession is a problem. To teach in California schools, you need a college degree and a credential, which takes time to earn. Lesson 3.2 summarizes the process and explains why it has many critics. The state has a chronic shortage of teachers with full credentials, so in many communities, teachers are routinely hired using emergency credentials. You may have heard that half of new teachers flame out, leaving the profession within 5 years. That's a myth, but it is true that teacher turnover is higher in schools where student poverty runs high or where teachers are more poorly supported. Lesson 3.3 points you to inexpensive but effective strategies for keeping teachers. There are about 300,000 teachers in California's 10,000 schools. Lesson 3.4 explains what determines who teaches where. The short version is that California school districts are employers and teachers are employees. Teachers can move from one employer to another, but there are some important reasons why they tend to stay put. New teachers usually have little idea about it until it's too late. This lesson also explains how substitute teaching works, which affects every student. Lesson 3.5 tackles the question of how teachers improve. Many districts provide incentives for teachers to spend time and money earning additional college credits. Unfortunately, the evidence suggests that that's wasteful. Most teachers improve their craft through a combination of hard knocks and specific training, often called professional development. Lesson 3.5 describes some less expensive approaches to help teachers become more effective in their work with students and families. Human connection and collaboration are important in any workplace, but teaching can be isolating work. Time set aside for teachers to collaborate is usually a negotiated element of the teacher contract. Historically, teaching has been a profession that pays modestly but offers good benefits, especially strong health insurance. But good health insurance for teachers is a tradition, not a law. Benefits are an element of the contract between the school district and its employees, usually negotiated with a teachers' union. It's a zero-sum thing. Districts that spend more on health insurance must spend less on other things, including salaries. In many countries, teaching is an admired and respected profession, which provides a kind of psychic benefit. Unfortunately, surveys show that teachers in America tend to feel less appreciated than those in other countries. There are some things you can do to make teachers feel appreciated, but there's an overriding challenge to the attractiveness of the teaching profession: money. Lesson 3.8 explains how salaries for teachers work. Almost all teachers in California are paid according to a negotiated salary schedule based on how long they've worked in the district and how many extra college credits they've earned. Teacher pay has kept up with basic inflation since the 1970s in California, but it has grown more slowly than pay in other professions. There are many ideas for how teacher compensation could be changed, and school districts have more power than most people think. For example, districts could pay more to attract and retain teachers with rare skills, or to persuade teachers to work in challenging school communities, or as an incentive to take on larger classes. This lesson describes some alternative compensation programs and what holds districts back from adopting them. The core challenge, again, is that to pay some underpaid teachers more, you have to pay other underpaid teachers less. Professionals need feedback to improve, and that's the subject of Lesson 3.9. Teacher evaluation and feedback systems tend to be pretty lousy. About half of states require teacher evaluations to include information about student test scores. California is not one of them. This lesson includes helpful information about ways schools could build useful feedback for teachers into their way of doing things. No one is better positioned to know teachers' strengths and weaknesses than students. Student feedback systems can be incredibly helpful to teachers, and this lesson suggests some ways to approach it. Public school systems in California emphasize seniority. For example, if school districts have to reduce staff, the most recently hired are almost always the ones let go. When a teacher has worked in a California school district for a year and a half, they receive employment protection, commonly called tenure. It's difficult and expensive to fire tenured teachers even when there is a good reason to do so. Pensions are a really important part of the compensation system for teachers in California. Lesson 3.11 is one of our most read lessons because it explains how the pension system works, how it's different from other retirement saving systems, and how the system became a financial time bomb with a really short fuse. Districts, teachers, and the state are all paying billions to buy time and keep the system afloat. Even if all goes well, it will take several decades to restabilize the fund. This is an important subject that matters a lot to teachers, so it's worth your time to read it. Well, that's it for this quick overview of ed100.org Chapter 3. For much more, including quizzes, discussion guides, and our blog, visit ed100.org. Chapter 4 will be about the use of time in education.